In 1962, the United States Army poured filthy pond water into a plastic bucket. Brown water. Water you wouldn't let your dog drink. What came out the bottom was crystal clear. A TDS meter read 112 parts per million. For context, most American tap water sits between 150 and 300. The Army's bucket beat your faucet. The total cost of the materials that made it happen? About $1 per 100 gallons. Your Brita filter uses one of the same core ingredients. They just charge you 1,000% more for the privilege of not knowing that. The average American household spends $300 or more every single year on filtration systems, replacement cartridges, pitcher refills, fridge filters. The military version of that same fundamental technology costs less than $20 total, and it lasts a decade sitting on a shelf. By the end of this video, you will know exactly how to build a gravity-fed water purification system from a 5-gallon plastic bucket and 2 cheap powders available at any hardware store. A system that produces water cleaner than what comes out of most American taps. And you will understand precisely why no one with a product to sell has ever told you about it. The document that proves all of this has been sitting in a United States Army filing cabinet since before most of your parents were born. This channel exists for one reason. Critical knowledge keeps getting buried behind paywalls, product catalogs, and marketing departments with quarterly targets. If you're here, you already suspect that the most important survival information isn't hidden because it doesn't work. It's hidden because it works too well and costs too little. Subscribe if you refuse to pay 1,000% markup on staying alive. Now let's start with where this method came from and why the Army wrote it down over 60 years ago. The document is called TBMED 577, Technical Bulletin, Medical 577, published by the United States Army in 1962. It sits within the broader framework of military field sanitation doctrine, a body of knowledge developed because the Army learned something the hard way across 2 centuries of warfare. In every major conflict before the 20th century, waterborne disease killed more soldiers than enemy fire. Not slightly more, dramatically more. Cholera, typhoid, dysentery. These weren't minor inconveniences, they were operational catastrophes. Entire units rendered combat ineffective not by bullets, but by contaminated water sources in unfamiliar territory. The Army's medical and engineering channels were tasked with solving this, not with expensive equipment, not with complex machinery that breaks in the field. They needed something a 19-year-old private could execute in a combat zone with materials that fit in a rucksack and survived months of storage in extreme heat. What they arrived at was elegant in its simplicity. 2 commodity chemicals, gravity, a container. The first chemical was calcium hypochlorite. You know it as pool shock, granular, dry, stable. That last word is the critical one. The Army chose calcium hypochlorite specifically over liquid bleach because liquid bleach degrades. It starts losing potency the day it's manufactured. Within 6 to 12 months, a bottle of household bleach has lost enough available chlorine that its disinfection capability becomes unreliable. In a forward operating base in a jungle or a desert, shelf life isn't a convenience. It's a survival variable. Calcium hypochlorite in dry granular form maintains its potency for 10 years or more. 1 pound of it treats approximately 10,000 gallons of water. The Army documented this because they needed it to work every single time, in the worst conditions on Earth, operated by people with no chemistry background. The second component was activated charcoal, granular carbon with a massive microscopic surface area that traps contaminants through a process called adsorption. The Army paired these two because each one handles threats the other cannot touch. Together, they replicate the exact 2-stage process used in municipal water treatment. Chlorination followed by carbon filtration. That's the backbone of every water plant in America. The field version just fits in a bucket. So the United States Army solved the most critical survival problem on Earth for pennies per gallon using 2 ingredients available at any hardware store. Now let's talk about why you've never heard of it. What we're covering today is the surface of what's been documented and buried. Inside the vault, you'll find the full protocol library. Every field expedient method the military documented that the consumer market had no reason to share with you. Long-term food preservation techniques from Army quartermaster manuals, shelter construction from engineering corps, field guides, medical triage protocols adapted for civilians, communication methods that work when infrastructure doesn't. No fluff, no filler, just recovered knowledge organized for immediate use. But everything you need to build this water purification system is right here in this video. Stay with me. Now let's talk about what actually happens inside that bucket, at the molecular level. When you dissolve calcium hypochlorite in water, it releases hypochlorous acid. This is the active disinfectant. It attacks the cell walls of bacteria and the protein coats of viruses. It doesn't just inhibit them, it destroys them structurally. At the concentration specified in the Army protocol, roughly 1 to 2 parts per million of free available chlorine The kill list is comprehensive. Vibrio cholerae, the bacterium behind cholera. Salmonella typhi, which causes typhoid fever. Escherichia coli, rotavirus. Hepatitis A. These organisms are neutralized within 30 minutes of contact at proper concentration. This is not theoretical. This is the same chemistry your municipal water plant uses right now. The EPA mandates chlorine residual in public water systems for exactly this reason. But here is what chlorine cannot do. It cannot remove dissolved chemicals. It cannot pull out heavy metals like lead or mercury. It cannot eliminate volatile organic compounds. And critically, it cannot reliably kill certain parasite cysts. Giardia lamblia and Cryptosporidium parvum have outer walls that resist chlorine at safe drinking concentrations. This is where activated charcoal enters. Granular activated carbon works through adsorption, not absorption. Adsorption. The contaminants bind to the enormous surface area of the carbon granules. 1 gram of activated charcoal can have a surface area exceeding 3,000 square meters. It's a molecular trap. Volatile organic compounds bind to it. Lead binds to it. Mercury binds to it. Chlorine itself binds to it, which is why your water tastes better after carbon filtration. And those chlorine-resistant parasite cysts, Giardia and Cryptosporidium, are physically large enough to be trapped in a properly packed charcoal bed. The carbon doesn't kill them, it catches them. Neither of these components alone gives you safe water. Chlorine without carbon leaves you drinking disinfected water still contaminated with chemicals, metals, and parasites. Carbon without chlorine gives you chemically filtered water still teeming with bacteria and viruses. The combination handles both threat categories in a single pass. This is not a hack. This is not a workaround. This is the exact 2-stage process that every municipal water treatment plant in the United States uses daily. Chlorination followed by activated carbon filtration. The only difference is scale. Your city does it in a facility that cost millions to build. You're about to do it in a bucket. So if your city's water plant uses these same 2 steps, why are you paying $300 a year for a plastic pitcher that only does one of them? That's not a rhetorical question. It has a precise answer, and the answer is money. The global consumer water filtration market generates billions of dollars annually. Billions. Companies like Brita, PUR, Berkey, and a constellation of competitors have built empires on a simple business model. Sell the device at modest margin, then sell replacement cartridges at enormous margin on a recurring schedule. The cartridge replacement cycle is the engine. Every 3 to 6 months, you buy another one, $30 to $80 each depending on the brand and model, year after year, for the rest of your life. Now ask yourself what's inside those cartridges. The primary filtration medium in most consumer water filter cartridges is activated carbon, the same granular activated charcoal you can buy in bulk at a pet supply store for aquarium filtration. The raw material costs pennies per ounce. The branded cartridge containing that raw material costs $30 to $80. The markup routinely exceeds 1,000%. That's not an estimate. Do the math yourself. A pound of aquarium-grade activated charcoal runs $3 to $8 at retail. The amount of carbon inside a standard pitcher cartridge weighs a few ounces. The cartridge sells for $40. You're paying for plastic housing, brand recognition, and the fact that no one told you what was inside. Now think about calcium hypochlorite. 1 pound costs $4 to $8. 1 pound treats approximately 10,000 gallons at a cost of roughly $1 per 100 gallons. Compare that to a countertop filter system where the device costs $50 to $100 and each cartridge filters 40 to 100 gallons before replacement. Now, over a year, the cartridge cost alone exceeds $200 for a family. No corporation on earth has a financial incentive to tell you about a $1 alternative that can't be patented. And that's the key. Both calcium hypochlorite and activated charcoal are commodity chemicals. They've been in the public domain for over a century. The gravity-fed bucket method is an unpatentable field expedient technique documented in public military literature. You cannot build a subscription model around it. You cannot create proprietary cartridges for it. You cannot generate quarterly revenue growth from it. There is no conspiracy needed to explain why you've never heard of this. Just follow the money. The industry didn't suppress a secret. They simply never had a reason to publicize a competitor they couldn't monetize. And the institutional default didn't help either. FEMA's civilian emergency guidance recommends household liquid bleach for water disinfection. That's the same liquid bleach the Army rejected 60 years ago because it degrades in storage. The superior military alternative, the one that lasts a decade and treats 10,000 gallons per pound, is almost never mentioned in civilian preparedness materials. Not because it doesn't work, because the institutional pipeline between military field doctrine and civilian guidance has never been a priority for anyone with a budget. If you've made it this far, you now understand more about field water purification than 99% of the population. That's not flattery, it's arithmetic. Subscribe, so the next piece of buried knowledge finds you before you need it, not after. now. Before I give you the exact build, I need to tell you what this system does not do. I'm telling you this because the guy who admits limitations is the guy you should trust when he tells you something works. Listen carefully. Calcium hypochlorite is a strong oxidizer. It requires basic chemical safety. Store it dry, away from heat, away from organic materials, away from other chemicals. Respect it the way you'd respect any concentrated pool chemical. Dosage precision matters. Too little fails to disinfect. Too much won't poison you at these concentrations, but it will make the water taste harsh and unpleasant. Follow the measurements exactly. Activated charcoal does not remove all inorganic contaminants. Fluoride, nitrates, and dissolved mineral salts pass through carbon beds with limited reduction. If your source water has known heavy nitrate contamination, this system alone may not be sufficient. The system does not address dissolved radioactive contamination. Radioactive isotopes in solution require ion exchange resins or reverse osmosis. If that's your threat scenario, you need additional equipment. Processing time is 30 to 60 minutes per 5-gallon batch. This is not an instantaneous flow-through system. You treat, you wait, you filter, plan accordingly. And the charcoal bed is not permanent, it saturates. After 200 to 500 gallons, depending on how contaminated your source water is, the charcoal needs replacement. At $3 to $8 per pound, this is trivially cheap, but it's a maintenance step you cannot skip. With those caveats understood, here is the exact build, step by step. Materials. Write this down. 1 5-gallon food-grade bucket with a lid. These run $2 to $5 at any hardware store or restaurant supply. 1 1/4-inch drill bit and a drill for making outlet holes. 1 bag of calcium hypochlorite pool shock, 68 to 70% available, chlorine concentration. This is critical. Read the label. You want 68 to 70%, no algicides, no clarifiers, no added fragrances. Pure calcium hypochlorite. Cost is $4 to $8 per pound. 1 bag of granular activated charcoal aquarium grade, available at pet supply stores or online. $3 to $8 per pound. 2 clean mixing containers, at least 2-gallon capacity each. Measuring spoons. A TDS meter is optional but recommended, about $10 to $15. pH test strips are optional, a few dollars per pack. Total investment under $20. Most of that you already have. Step 1. Drill 8 to 12 1/4-inch holes in the bottom of the bucket in a circular pattern. These are your drainage outlets. Step 2. Cut a piece of clean cotton cloth, an old t-shirt works fine, and lay it flat across the inside bottom of the bucket, covering the holes. This prevents charcoal granules from falling through. Step 3. Pour granular activated charcoal into the bucket on top of the cloth to a depth of 4 to 6 inches. Level it evenly. This is your filtration bed. Step 4. Prepare your stock disinfection solution. Add 1 heaping teaspoon of calcium hypochlorite, approximately 7 grams, to 2 gallons of clean water. Stir until dissolved. This is your stock solution. Do not drink the stock solution directly. It is concentrated. Step 5. Treat your source water. Add 1 part stock solution to 100 parts source water. For a 5-gallon batch, that's approximately 3.2 ounces of stock solution, or just over 6 tablespoons, added to 5 gallons of the water you want to purify. Stir thoroughly. Step 6. Wait 30 minutes. This is your contact time. The chlorine needs 30 minutes to kill bacteria and viruses at this concentration. Do not skip this. Do not shorten it. Step 7. After 30 minutes, slowly pour the treated water into the charcoal bucket. Let gravity pull it through the 4 to 6-inch carbon bed and out through the drainage holes into a clean collection container below. Pour slowly. You want full contact with the charcoal. Step 8. Check your results. If you have a TDS meter, test the output. You should see readings below 300 parts per million for most source water. In field tests on pond water with initial TDS readings above 600, filtered output has measured between 90 and 150 parts per million. That's cleaner than municipal tap in most American cities. If you have pH strips, confirm a reading between 6.5 and 8.5. This is the safe drinking range. Step 9. Replace the charcoal bed after every 200 to 500 gallons. If you notice taste changes, odor, or rising TDS readings, replace early. A fresh charcoal bed costs $3 to $8 and takes 2 minutes to swap. Your calcium hypochlorite stores for 10 years or more in a cool, dry container. 1 pound treats approximately 10,000 gallons. A single bag of charcoal handles the first few hundred gallons. Your total operating cost is approximately $1 per 100 gallons of purified water, 1 pound of powder, a bag of charcoal, a plastic bucket. That is a decade of clean water for your family. Here's where we stand. In 1962, the United States Army documented a complete water purification protocol in TBMED 577, 2 commodity chemicals that cannot be patented. a gravity-fed process that cannot be trademarked. A method so simple it was designed for exhausted soldiers in combat zones with no training in chemistry. It works because it replicates the exact two-stage process, chlorination plus carbon filtration, that every municipal water plant in America relies on every single day. The consumer filtration industry generates billions annually selling you branded cartridges filled with the same activated charcoal available at a pet store for pennies per ounce. The markup exceeds 1,000%. Civilian emergency agencies default to liquid bleach, the same product the Army rejected 60 years ago because it degrades in months. The superior alternative that lasts a decade was simply never ported to civilian guidance. No conspiracy was required, no shadowy meetings, no classified documents, just the ordinary machinery of profit motive and institutional inertia, grinding away quietly while you paid $300 a year for something that costs $1. You now hold the complete protocol. You know the materials, you know the measurements, you know the contact times, you know the limitations. You know why it works, and you know exactly why nobody with a product catalog ever had a reason to tell you. Total investment under $20. Shelf life over a decade. Output cleaner than most municipal tap water. Send this video to someone you'd want next to you when the water stops flowing. Next time, we're opening another military technical manual that the consumer market prays you never read. I'll see you there.